There is a lot of fear in the workplace right now. Every single day that goes by, there's a new headline about layoffs and replacing people with AI. And I think there's no person out there that isn't at least thinking about, what does the next 5 years look like? What is my job going to look like? Or my friends, or my spouses, or my kids' future? These are these questions that all of us are facing. And as a leader, you might be freaking out wondering the same things. But I say this because as a leader, it is our responsibility to create some kind of semblance of stability on our teams. Maybe we didn't ask for that, but that is what we signed up for. And that is what we are being called to do right now. It doesn't mean we have to have all the answers. And it doesn't mean we gaslight folks. And it doesn't mean we say, oh, nothing's going to change, and we really have no idea. It means we stay in the conversation and we figure out a strategy for right now, how we support our team members in kind of making sense of what's out there for them. And that's what I want to talk about today, is how to talk about AI with your team, how to make space for folks to learn and experiment and utilize tools without feeling like they are creating the thing that will be replacing them, because of course they're going to be doing that pretty begrudgingly. How do you just deal with what we're facing today? I don't have all the answers. I don't know what the future holds either, but I do know that when we stay in the conversation and we show our teams, hey, we're here, we're all trying to figure this out together, things will go a lot better than if we don't do that. All right, let's dive in. Welcome to Managing Made Simple, a real talk podcast about the ins and outs of leading a team. I'm Leah Garvin, your host, and bring a decade of experience driving team operations in places like Google, Apple, and Microsoft on a mission to make leading your team easier. From delegating to feedback to one-on-ones and more, each week is a mini masterclass on making leading your team easier. Whether you're managing one person or 100, everyone is welcome to hang out on Managing Made Simple. I mentioned on the show last week, I have been diving headfirst into Cloud Code. I've got Terminal open. I'm building web apps. I'm working with clients to figure out how to really supplement their workflows to give their team members superpowers. And as I've been doing this, I've been feeling really optimistic. Now, if you're a longtime listener of the show, you might have heard my tune was a little bit different before. I feel like I still do. We are having the wrong conversations around AI. So much of it is around replacing people. Should we do layoffs to cut costs and then figure out later? I think we're not having the right conversation. What I want to do on this show is equip you with the tools to have the right conversation, because there is so much out there that we can do to actually save our team members time and give them space back to focus on the things that they really should be doing. We can also be utilizing things like Claude Code and building out skills and like Claude skills to build our own skills and give ourselves the ability to remove a lot of wasted time, duplication of efforts, all the stuff that I already support you with when we talk about these things on the show. It's actually, automating some of the systems. So there's a lot there. But when we talk about AI with our team, before we even talk about what's possible, we've got to remember what the people on the other end are thinking. Where are they going the moment we say AI? And I'm going to tell you, it's not a hypothetical question. It's not rhetorical. They're thinking, oh my gosh, you are getting ready to replace my job. Or they're thinking, oh gosh, how much longer is it going to be until I don't have a job anymore? I'm not guessing. I know that is what people are thinking. That is what people talk about every single day. When I meet with business owners or VPs or high up leaders, they're feeling like, oh, I don't know if people are thinking about that. Your teams, when I talk to your team members, the employees, the folks on the ground, that is what every single one is saying. So just like newsflash, if you feel like, oh, I don't know if that's really the case, that's what we're all thinking about. With that said, what does it look like if you go to your team and you say, hey, everyone, learn Claude, it's the wave of the future. You need to be up to speed on this. And you don't say anything besides that. What do you think goes through their minds? Here we go. I knew it was happening. This is it. It's only a matter of time. And it starts spinning. And even if your team members are super tech savvy or super into it and adopt these tools right away, there is a good chance they still have this looming feeling in the back of their minds, like, oh gosh, this is it for me. There's going to be a day when you're going to say, okay, the tool's working really well. What do we need you for? This is what's going on. And that is because we haven't set any context at all. Now, when that starts to happen, you see productivity dip because people think, well, I'm just going to stick around and get that paycheck till I don't have a choice anymore. I see a lot of folks in corporate teams feeling like, well, especially if you're working in tech and you're building software that's designed to be replacing roles. Meta has a planned set of layoffs coming May 20th. They have publicly said to lay off at least 10,000 people. I think that's 10% of their workforce, if not more, because of AI. They have said that. So like, this isn't stuff I'm guessing at and making up. These are things that in big tech is being talked about publicly as like, okay. So of course your team members are thinking about this. Now, in my opinion, if for the thousands of people that I've worked with and supported and being better leaders, I have to think, well, that's not going to be good. That's not going to create the right culture that we want to create inside of our team. That's not going to create the right motivation. That's going to create a Lord of the Flies situation. But there is a belief in some companies that we should scare people into, working faster, as if we're going to outrun AI. I'm not trying to give you tools to outrun AI. I don't think that's possible. I think what we can do is to understand where we work with AI, where we utilize AI as a superpower, where we utilize it to supercharge our own skills, where we supplement things that we weren't very good at, or that took forever, or that we were reinventing the wheel every single time with our clients. And we use it in that way so that we become even better at the human stuff that we should be doing. That's what I see as possible. And that's the conversation I encourage you to have with your teams, is to figure out, like, what is your strategy? What is your belief about this? And then how are you helping your team members figure out this yes and? And this is what a lot of folks have been bringing me in to do, is to look at, okay, let's look at where we have these inefficiencies. Where's there duplication of efforts, especially agencies that have to do some kind of like a lot of upfront research on kicking projects off, or on, research and strategy, and be kind of putting out the same reports over and over. They're bringing me in to evaluate, okay, where can we utilize and set up our own custom Claude skills, which I then build for them so that they're totally dialed in, so that they can save their team members 10, 15, 20 hours per project, per team member, on things that they were getting really stuck on. So this is one of the ways that we're using these tools to give our team members superpowers, supercharge the skills, instead of just saying, yeah, like it's a matter of time until you're out of here. And I think there's a way to reframe a lot of this fear by talking about our own vision as leaders, our own vision as of incorporating it into giving ourselves more space to do the human stuff. Now, for example, when I've recently built out a tool for the Snippets tool that I talk about on the show. This is coming soon. Right now I'm beta testing it with a few of my clients to make sure I work all of the bugs. It was a Google Doc. I built it into a web app in Claude Code so that we can identify proactively trends across what's getting done, what priorities are coming back, where people are getting stuck, where bandwidth is at. So this Snippets tool that gives you a bird's eye view into what people are working on, instead of having it as a Google Doc, I used AI to build this into a web app that gives you these real-time trends. This is pretty freaking awesome. Now, I didn't replace myself in having that as a tool. I use this so that I can have something at a glance show me what's happening on this team, and then I can go back through it with my clients and say, hey, when this kind of thing is showing up week after week, here's actually what's going on behind the scenes. I can then say, because I know that context with that client, I can say, oh, we've struggled with Joe in the past, feeling, wanting that more recognition. Now I'm seeing this show up again. Let's try this. And we have that human conversation. So we're utilizing a tool to consolidate the data, help us extract the themes so that we can then apply a human solution to it. I'm not asking AI to just spit something out for us. No, it's pulling together the data that would take a lot of manual work to find so that we have an answer there. And this is what I'm so excited, right? Is because when we are finding what are things that we actually couldn't do before or would have taken a lot of different connection points behind the scenes, how can we use that to bring it together? This is where the superpowers are. Same thing as I mentioned with my agency clients. By creating custom Claude skills that run a lot of these searches and different connection points that they were doing to be able to prep for client kickoffs, this is not replacing that account rep on the job. This is giving that person the ability to actually have a better and more informed conversation that can then support their client in achieving their goals faster. We're not replacing the human, we're replacing some of the stuff that actually was hurting that business from being able to deliver a better result. Those are the ways that we talk about the power of AI without it feeling like it's you or the computer and one of you isn't going to win this battle. So there's a lot out here, and I think, again, if you're a longtime listener, you can see my tune has shifted against, hey, I'm nervous. There's a lot that we don't know, to, hey, as these tools and capabilities have gotten so much stronger and so much more fine-tuned, I think now we're at this moment where using it very, very strategically and in a very customized way with our teams, we finally have a better way to talk about the strategy of utilizing AI. A year ago, when it was like we're typing into ChatGPT and we're just copying and pasting and half of it was garbage, like that's where we weren't quite in a maturity, I think, to be able to have a really clear strategy around it for how to engage with it in our teams. It's always been a really powerful tool for saving time, reducing steps. The note taking is obviously like stuff like that. But I think right now, with the ability to design something that is taking the things that are really the biggest sticking points on your team, it's bringing together all the things that I always talk about to life. It's not replacing you in feedback conversations. It's not letting you skip the hard part of delegating, which is kind of figuring out the context and what success looks like. It's giving these other, I would say, kind of periphery activities that take away from the core of what you're doing. That's where we can really save time. I'll give you another example. Clinicians or therapists or some coaches, they capture notes of their sessions and everything like that so that they can just kind of have a longitudinal plan. Utilizing AI for analyzing trends and patterns and figuring out, what's happening across the board. That can be really useful. Now, we don't take that at face value. Now we layer in the fact that we were in that session, we were in that conversation, and we say, okay, here's a perspective based on a transcript. Now, I was actually in that conversation, or your team member or whoever. What is the actual truth in the middle? What is the actual reality? And I'll give you an example. Take any meeting where you have your meeting notes transcribed, right? So you're using Fathom or maybe Zoom is doing it, or Otter, or whatever these tools are. And it'll give you the top points, action steps. If you read through those, I'm going to say at least half the time, maybe 75% of the time, in my opinion, when I read through that, the main point wasn't fully accurate of what the AI captured. The AI thought, this thing was mentioned a few times. So then, by virtue of understanding language learning models or whatever, they've captured, because it was mentioned a few times, it must be more important, right? What it doesn't have is your own context. It doesn't know that, okay, this thing was emphasized more, or this person has this title. It doesn't sound like the most important title, but they're the most influential person in the room. Or you have the context that you had the one-on-one with someone before, and you know that, hey, this is a popular thing to say, but it's actually not the priority. This is why the human still has to be in the conversation. And this is what I want you to reassure your team members with, is don't just spit the notes out and send them to the client. Go through them, read it, figure out what is the piece in the middle. Add that layer of personalization. Your team members, when they decide to opt out of being a human, I was going to say, of doing that human piece, and they just want to hand off that AI output without looking at it, that's their choice too. So what we need to do as leaders is show them how to apply this, to take it, to massage it, to use it as a data point, but not the all or nothing, right? That's part of the conversation. And again, that's what I'm helping businesses with. It's so exciting. There is so much out there. It's a scary time. People are worried, am I obsolete? Nobody knows what's happening, past the next 6 months. Seriously, it's weird. But we're here. We've got to show up. We've got to equip people with the tools. And if you need support, I'm so excited to help guide you on this journey. Reach out at hello@leegarvin.com, and we will build what this looks like to just figure this out and have these conversations with your teams. There is a lot of questions that we don't have the answers to, and we don't have to make up the answers. We just got to stay in the conversation. All right? See you next time. Thanks for tuning in, and I hope this podcast makes leading your team feel just a little bit easier. If you liked this episode, check out my most popular tool for staying in the know of what your team's working on without having to micromanage at leegarvin.com/snippets. And if you're looking for more support for yourself as a leader or for the team you're managing, don't hesitate to reach out at leegarvin.com. See you next time.